So with the 5 minutes that we have left, does anybody want to share their own architecture or an example of one of the architectures that Adan and Vineeth were showing earlier? Does anybody want to talk through their own implementation? I know you mentioned your single agent architecture.
Yeah.
Are there any others that anyone wants to share?
What the question gentleman asked earlier, right? So
Let's say if there are 4 or 5 agents behind agent 1, an agent to agent communication or interaction is happening, there is this new notion of relationship based access controller which is evolving. So between agent 1 and agent 2, what is the relationship that they have? What are all those attributes which will define that relationship? Between agent 2 and agent 3, what are all the attributes which will define the relationship? Now, based on this, you can define a relationship-based access control policy, and that would get cascaded down from the agent 1 all the way till agent 4 or agent 5, which are sitting behind these agents. So that way, the agent-to-agent interaction and communication will happen with proper authentication and authorization. That's another kind of role-based access control which is evolving.
Excellent. So back to the question we had, is there anyone who wants, because I'm kind of looking the forward here, button now. Is there anyone who has an architecture to volunteer or shall we volunteer you?
All right, let's go.
So we have a single agent architecture, essentially takes in requests from the user, generates a SQL query. It can run it for you, or it can also generate like code, that Python code which will generate graphs and stuff for analytic purposes. Essentially, in terms of security guardrails, we've firstly defined the vector because it's going to learn against a model. So made sure that the agent itself doesn't have access to PII data, right? It doesn't have access to data, but it's looking at the database structure, the elements, and then it's able to determine, okay, this is what the user is actually asking for and stuff, based on column names and other things. Shouldn't have access to PII, shouldn't have access to encryption, decryption functionality, should use the user's token. So access management identity essentially needs to use the user's token in order to query the database. We've cut off access to external connection, like it's not connected to the web, it's all internal, and cut off access to other services as well. You may call it paranoia, but if it doesn't need access to other services, it doesn't need access, right? And only one ingress calls. Another thing we're trying to work on is exposing it to other clients, like let's say Slack or something, to make life easier for employees. But that's a challenge we're trying to look at the moment. So.
Data set to call out PI, or how
Yes.
do you even know what's PI?
Yeah, exactly. So we are labeling our data set. That's exactly what we're doing. That this is PI, this is not. Actually, it's already been like that, and it's always encrypted as well. So that's how we've done encryption because of all the labeling. So it's legacy for us. So we didn't have to do anything new for that.
Also, there's services like AWS Macy. I'm sure Google and GCP and Azure have something, but there are services that use regex and NLP to auto-categorize data as PII, PCI, HIPAA, and so on.
they are all listed in the document. by
Yeah.
the way.
Excellent.
All right.
Right.
Oh, can you advance? Can you show the contributor slide?
Yes, I will.
Before we do that, can we highlight this to everyone? Please use this form and give us your input. So I will not allow them to progress the slide. Otherwise, people take it for the.
Yeah.
It's really important. This conversation is really important, and it cannot be exhausted in a single session. So let's find different ways. We're all busy. We all have jobs, but let's not leave it here. The form is the first part.
Yeah. So yeah, we have 3 ways to provide feedback. We have a form. We have the actual Google Doc. You can add comments on it, and you can reach out to us on Slack, LinkedIn, anywhere outside after this. So we'd love to get as much information from you guys as possible. And then finally, I would love to thank our contributors. Give me 1 second.
Back one.
Yes, we'd love to thank our contributors for putting in a lot of work along with us to make this happen. Thank you very much.
And hopefully we'll see your name.
Yeah. Hopefully your name should be on this. Yeah.
Sorry, we have one last session before all of you goes, which is, I promise you it's short and it's engaging, and apologies for running, kind of so the time. So we have another final in it to hold the landscape. So we're asking you to all those kind of things. Just a minute, guys, let me get it split. We're asking you to do, I know we're all tired, but let's be quiet for a little bit. So we have round of rock here, but we'll talk about all the things that you can use to implement the things that we're talking about. Off you go. Campus.
All right.
Yeah, and this kind of thing. Okay? We can speak in our- Well,
All right, so. I don't know. All right, so. We're working on, so this is gonna be easy and this is gonna be quick. It's the end of the day. Some of you have been and also in the OWASP AI Summit early this morning, so you've got a whole day's worth of OWASP AI log. And we're working on a agentic AI security landscape document, right? So taking a look at the ecosystem as a whole, right? So this is also gonna be the least technical talk today. One of the biggest things we get asked when people join the work stream, the initiative is, well, what is it exactly that we're doing? Who's it for? So we came up with a mission statement. That slide didn't make it here. And forgive me, I haven't memorized it word for word, but it's really for, to provide, CISOs, AI developers, AI security researchers, chief AI officers, legal, privacy, kind of an overview of what's out there and some things to come. And, and that's kind of intentional because this is the, agentic AI security landscape report, not the landscape report for CISOs, right? Because they're gonna have a different interest, not the landscape report for AI developers and researchers, they're gonna have a different interest. And maybe we spin some of those off down the road. And I also want to give credit to Kayla Underkoffler, who was supposed to be my co-presenter today. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it. And Evgeny Kopikin, who is the workstream lead. He couldn't make it here today either. So sorry, guys, if you're watching, I may have just signed this up for my work. But the report is being broken into 4 pillars. And what we're asking for today is some feedback on if we're missing anything. Right? Are we missing anything in this report as we're working on it? I think our goal is like June, July timeframe to release it. All right, so regulatory context. We'll get into it in a little bit, but TLDR, it's a mess. Incident analysis, right? We're gonna, take a handful of incidents that we believe are related to agentic AI specifically. And if you know of any, please send them over, because a lot of times we see these incidents in the news, whether it be the AI incident database or whatever. And it's not really certain, was it agentic, was it not agentic? What were some of the results, that sort of thing. The solutions ecosystem, right? Obviously, that landscape is booming. We're not gonna get into necessarily specific tools. We're gonna integrate that into the general Gen AI landscape document that's gonna be released next quarter. And, the report's also then gonna get into future trends, right? What does the future landscape look like? What are some trends to look out for? Regulatory, technology, otherwise. All right, so the reason why we're probably the last ones to publish a report is because this landscape is moving so incredibly fast. When we started this research, MCP, yeah, it was kind of a thing. There was a buzz about it. And A2A had, didn't even exist yet, right? And now I learned something, what's MIT doing? NAVDA? NANDA, right? So I guess we have more work to do there to make sure that's included in the report, right? So, the pace of innovation is moving really fast. Regulations aren't keeping up. Regulations, any regulatory standard right now, well, throughout the history of mankind has assumed a relatively static environment post-regulation. Or, any certification regime, like think about, healthcare medical devices, have counted on the fact that that device is going to be pretty static and not change much post-certification without a recertification. Well, with agentic AI, that whole thing blows up. And, this is the year of agentic AI, but we've been talking about AI agents since, I don't know, since bell bottoms were popular in the 70s when we were talking about distributed AI systems, right? Now it's matured and evolved, right? But the concept has been around forever. So these are gonna be a couple questions that I posed to the audience, but in the interest of time, I would just want you to take back and think about this, right? How are you approaching the development and security of your AI agents within your organization? Do you have actual agentic AI coding standards within your organization, right? Those tool description templates, things like that. I'd venture to say many don't, right? I'd venture to say many are just like AI all the things, agent all the things. Because that's what I'm saying, in my day-to-day work, working with various companies. Have you updated your incident response plans, right? In the Gen AI initiative, we also have a incident response, a document that we dropped. And, we're continually evolving that, evolving that, to account for agentic AI, right? Because it's more than just a vertical thing, that may occur within the LLM. Now you've got the horizontal components of agent-to-agent communication, and where's the failure happening, right? Is the failure happening or the incident happening in that agent-to-agent communication level? Isn't it happening vertically within the MCP server? Is it happening within the model, right? Comically though, and as a side note, of course I used OpenAI deep research to help me kind of prepare for this a little bit. And it said, well, MCP was specifically designed with security in mind. What the hell it was, right? So again, trust but verify, right? Your LLM outputs. Now, from a regulatory standpoint, this is, I deal with this a lot, and it kind of makes me cringe because I feel like I'm walking through a live minefield blindfolded whenever I start talking about the regulatory landscape. It's fragmented. Obviously, the EU is taking the lead with the EU AI Act, right? There's some strict penalties involved there, up to £6 million of fines. And, they're taking the approach of trying to regulate banned or high classification systems. Here in the States, well, just like we don't have a unified cybersecurity policy, just like we don't have a unified privacy policy, I don't see any sort of unified AI regulation anytime soon. And, so we have suggestions, right? We have the NIST AI risk management framework. We have ISO 42001. But now the states are taking it upon themselves to self-regulate. I live in Denver, so Colorado has the first in nation Colorado AI bill. In my opinion, it's comically similar to the EU AI Act, but with some interesting considerations, right? So the Colorado bill really focuses on algorithmic bias and harm. It doesn't do a good job at boxing that in, right? So while it says it focuses on high-risk systems, right? When you factor in algorithmic bias and harm without more definition or a box around it, that literally pulls in every AI, right? All the LMs, all the agents, everything, right? All the vision models, everything. So, so they're working on that in the governor's office. It's supposed to be going into effect February 6th of 26. We'll see. On the EU side, though, the final code of practice is supposed to be dropped next week, I believe. But we'll see if it's gonna be delayed or not. I know Johnny's had some direct input on that. What else do I got here? So, because of the dynamic nature, we need some, I don't know if we're ever gonna have dynamic regulatory practices. I wouldn't even begin to know what that looks like, but we do need to have dynamic, like, corporate governance practices around agentic AI. Right, so there are initiatives out there right now about taking a look at things like governance as code. And You know, some of you may like, when I say this, but I think we're gonna eventually need AI to govern AI. And yeah, I mean, again, it sounds a little cringy, right? But the panel that John moderated earlier this morning made a great point. It's like in cybersecurity, we're all saying humans suck, right? Humans are the weakest link in cybersecurity, but then we're expected to save the world when it comes to governing AI and being that human in the loop, right? And clearly that doesn't scale either, right? So that's what we need from a, you know, if we're going to have safe and responsible agentic AI in the future, right? We're gonna have to figure out how to have safe and responsible governance baked in to the actual systems, to the actual frameworks. So again, the ecosystem's moving really, really fast. We're kind of seeing tools come out in two buckets, if you will, right? Overall AI, agentic security posture management. I don't know how many other acronyms we could possibly have. But you know, but that's kind of telling you the who's building what, where, when, type of things. But then we're also seeing a lot of AI agentic runtime agents, right? Like monitoring the agent at runtime. And for those, we have to be really careful, right? Because the early versions kind of like only monitor the prompt response inputs, but you know, now we're seeing some maturity and you really have to be able to monitor the activities that the agent is doing, right? How the sausage is made, how it's calling down vertically through an MCP server or horizontally across to another agent and whatnot. So my ask to you, participate in our research. So we're actually looking for people to interview, right? About what are we getting right? What are we getting wrong? What else do we need to research? Are there any other frameworks that are being released? And you know, this will take you to essentially a sign-up form. Probably myself, Kayla, or Evgeny will reach out to you. It's gonna go, you know, 15, 30 minutes for a call, and interview you. And would appreciate your feedback. Everybody here is seeing different things. Everybody here is developing different things. Everybody here is gonna have some unique feedback. Love to have you participate. And we don't have the name of the chat, of the Slack channel on here. It's Team LLM Agentic Landscape Report. So please join. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any questions? See, I got you done. We're only 5 minutes over.
Any questions to Rob for this?
Me? Oh, okay, sorry. I just have a suggestion about the 4 pillars. I know my CISO would like to see a 5th pillar that talks about skill or people aspect of it. It talks a lot about what's happening outside, what are the side effects, like how is the workforce getting affected by it, or at what pace they're upskilling and cross-skilling themselves to pick up that pace. I mean, I'm pretty sure my CISO would be concerned about that 5th pillar as well, just a suggestion.
No, I appreciate that. And, you know, I would say that's not an agentic security or an agentic AI specific thing. That's an AI thing across the board. But having to take a look at, implementing that, because you're right, like, just because you know LLM doesn't know you mean agents. Or it doesn't mean you know agents.
Oh, no, that's for the, making question, I'm asking you, so but one of the things we learned in security is, the developer says it works, right? It's working as intended. And we learned that in the use case, we never imagined that situation. After we realized that that's a risk. And we go back to educate the developer that this is a security risk. Because it works for you, the system works. But the product or the outcome is exactly the opposite of what we intended. I was thinking of your pillars, which are what we can add is how do we analyze the business case or use case to begin with to start classifying the business, which will then inform or qualifies as a security issue. Right now, I think keep looking at security issues from a technical point of view. We'll only be by this group. And that could be limited scope. And it will be a long time before someone classifies something as a security issue. Unless we let it happen, we will work that the regulators will get behind us. That was what I meant was formulating as I go. And I was thinking of something that I said, just use case risk analysis. And then diving into security effective.
Yeah, thank you for that. And again, that's especially with my clients, that's an issue that I'm seeing across the board. Agentic AI is not, right? Like, often people, I mentioned it earlier, they have a strategy of AI own things. It's like, and I'll make the argument that RPA, I know gentleman here brought up RPA earlier, it isn't really AI in the sense that we know AI today, right? Right, have you done process optimization, right? Or else you're just gonna automate really bad processes really fast, right? And, but I think the use cases with agentic AI is everybody, agentic AI sexy. Do you need agentic AI? Do you need an agent, right? Is it just, and I can't even believe I'm saying this, old school LLM, right? But yeah, thank you for that. We'll take a look at that for sure. Any other questions?
No, I.
Thank you for triggering my PTSD about Y2K.
I share that, and I
Started this.
right, I'm there for you, so, and I'd just like to end kind of on that comment, which is, just because we can doesn't mean we should. 4 years ago, that was the modus operandi, with mainframe, just because we can't put a system on mainframe doesn't mean we should, right, I mean, ultimately. On tech. But I think especially now, at some point, and I'd love to see this as a future OWAM initiative, we need to look at the human impact and help people understand when they need to dial their people back from putting systems in some type of generative AI environment.
Awesome, thanks. So 2 things to that. One is, give egos a punch, so join the Slack. As an initiative. And, what was the second point? I need another cup of coffee. And, yeah, here's my second point. So we said that about mainframe. We said that about, going back to client server just because we, just because we can, we should. We said that about cloud, doesn't mean we can, or it doesn't mean that just because we can, we should. But we see in each of those instances that it's happening.
There's a cascading, as Mr. Butler would say, compounding impact towards humanity. And even though I am, as an engineer, thrilled and terrified, and that's my happy spot, I'm finally at a point where I may get on the other side of that fence. So I think we need to look at the compounding impact of what we created and help move it forward in other ways.
I think that's an interesting conversation to have as a society at large. Always focuses primarily on security. Something that we do say to people when we do the model, are you aware of the risk that you take necessarily? So that's really, really important. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Let me get into the point where we need to have our. I was going to throw, before you go, I was going to throw some more slides for people to think you will become a nightmare. Just a little bit about the direction of where we're going. So we are completing the secure agentic apps guides. So please give feedback. The landscape will follow. We will kind of carry on engaging with you with the sample, but then we realize, and then some of our colleagues demonstrated that things cannot wait for our release cycle. So if you think about all these kind of great things that everyone is talking, MCP, A2A, and I have my own advice to all of you, those are things that are emerging. Don't ground your understanding on all that. Think of the fundamentals too. However, we need to advise people. So we have created something called the agentic research, the rapid response workstreams. We will be releasing some papers, and people do it on their own. You know, everyone can go and publish on ArchiveX papers, but we want to have that peer review, the distinguished experts that we have. So if you have any kind of topics that really important to you and you want us to be addressed, come and join us and come and ask for that briefing for us to produce as always, not just individuals. And that's really important. Many of us have our individual output, and that will continue to exist. But as always, you know, the key that we bring is peer review and making sure that it's independent and focuses on the audience. To do all that, come and join us. Joining us doesn't mean you have to sign a membership act like Raksha did when he joined. Joining us means come and join the Slack channel and have a conversation. Fill in the document. Come and talk to us. That's how we're making all these new things accessible to everyone. Because if we don't do it, the bad guys will. And on that thought, thank you very much for your resilience and your patience. And I'll see you soon. We'll send out a form to ask for feedback. Big round of applause by Workstream leaders that did an excellent work. Stand up, everyone. Thank you. And community, at the beginning, I said community matters. Unfortunately, the local community wasn't there at the moment, but they are now. The LA over Australia, just still give a round of applause for my group. Thank you very much. And those of you online, thank you.